Seder dinner. It's like potato, Seder. I mean, call it what you want to. I think for weeks I've been telling you we're going to have a Seder dinner, and tonight I decided we're having a Seder dinner. So, depends on where you're from, all right? This is a very interesting dinner, and I was served it at a dinner party like 2 years ago. And it just left a mark about how I had never even heard of it, never been exposed to it, never participated in it, and I have been dying, probably isn't the right adjective, I've been dying to have one of these. So I decided to do you guys as my first one. So I may get a couple of things mixed up, but bear with me because you probably didn't know the difference if you've never participated in one. So I'm just excited about it. So in order to do that, I had to go buy a Haggadah book. And Haggadah, in the Jewish people, their books don't open normal, they open backwards. Because, oh, that was a landmark, paper mark. Anyway, so in Jewish things, they not only open their books the opposite way we do, but they read right to left instead of left to right. So that's kind of interesting to learn. And where all this comes from is a couple places in the Bible, but mainly I'm going to talk about it when it's in Exodus, all right? And this is in the Old chapter in the Old Testament. So if you will backtrack for a minute with me, and I got to watch my time. Okay, I don't even know if you are that familiar with the Bible, but if you are, do you remember that, when Jacob's brothers sold him into slavery? Do you remember that story? Because I told you, okay. So then he sells them into slavery, and he goes and he works for the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, right? Okay, so he's working there, and he gets in trouble a couple times. Anyway, he becomes Pharaoh's, like, bestie, okay? His right-hand guy, so much that he's like, you know what, dude? I'm just going to sit back, eat the grapes, get fanned by my girls, and you're going to kind of run the show. I'm going to let you be in charge of everything I have because I trust you that much. Now, so then came a famine in the land of Israel, and actually all over everywhere. But the only people, when I stray aside, help me, okay. When the famine came, God had already told him that he was going to have to reserve the food of the land because the famine was coming. Well, he's about the only one that reserved the food of the land because God was talking to him. Well, that made everyone in Israel starve to death. They were like, where are we going to go for food? So they start finding out that the food is in Egypt. So little by little, they come to Egypt, and before you know it, they all move to that country because it's easier than to keep traveling back and forth to just move closer to the grocery store, right? Okay, so they move closer to Egypt where all the food is. Well, then the Pharaoh is like, wait a minute. We got all these foreigners coming in here, and I'm scared that they're going to overpower us, take over, and then I'm not going to be in charge anymore. So I tell you what, I got a good idea. Let's put them into slavery, and then I can control them, and then they'll never, like, overcome our number of people. So he does this, and now they're in slavery for many, many years, all right? Well, you got to remember that there's so many stories here, I can't get them all summed up and let's do the Seder dinner that fast. But you got to remember that Moses was an Israelite, all right? He was part of God's people. And the Pharaoh had decided he was going to kill the children. So that mother, like other mothers, put her baby in a basket and let it go down the river. Well, it happened to be that Pharaoh's wife, the daughter found the basket of the baby floating and looked left, looked right, and was like, I'm saving this one. All right, so they raised Moses as if he was an Egyptian, all right, and he wasn't. And Pharaoh's son would love to, like, sword fight. They just loved to sword fight. And so he would always force Moses to have a little playful fight. But really, if he could accidentally kill him, it wouldn't have hurt his feelings. Okay, so he was definitely a mama's boy, all right? Because she's the one that saved him in the water, the daughter. And one day they're fighting, and he accidentally cuts his brother right here in the face, and they get all mad, and then Mom and Daddy have to come in and stop the fight, and make a hug and all that stuff. And in the midst of that, he finds out that he was adopted. Well, what do you mean I'm adopted? Why I thought I was one of y'all. No, honey, I got to pull you aside. I got to tell you something. I saved you. We adopted you. You're really the people that are out there being slaves. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm one of them, and I see us beating them all the time, and like we're making them build our castles, and we're making them like wait on us, and we're making them like do all this harsh labor, and I'm one of them. So then he goes out there, long story short, he ends up leaving, he hides in the wilderness forever. God speaks to him and says, Moses, I need you to go back, and I need you to tell Pharaoh to let all of our people go. Who, me? I think you got the wrong guy. He said, no, I'm talking to you. I need you to go back to Pharaoh, where you used to live, in the castle, and I need you to tell him to let go of our people. Well, that begins the story, remember, where there's 10 plagues that God sends down because Pharaoh won't let them go. I mean, why do you want to let go of your work, of your help, right? Then you're not going to have any help. So he sends down 10 plagues. Over and over, God hardens his heart and makes them say, okay, you can go. And then before it's time to go, he changes his mind and says, no, I just remembered, I got to have you because I need helpers. I need workers. And anyway, on the last plague, God said, this is what I want you to do. I am going to kill all of their children. I need you to go out, find a lamb. I need you to sacrifice the lamb. Take the blood of the lamb. I need it to go over your doors, okay? So that when I send the death angel through, I'll know that your faith is with me and you're part of God's people, and I will pass over your house and go to the next house and kill all the people from Egypt. Does that make sense? So that's where the name Passover came from. It's 2 words. I will pass over your house and go to the next house. So that's where Passover came from. Did I do that right? Okay. So that is Passover. So they had to leave in such a hurry when God, and there's so much more to this story that I really have to sum this up. So there's so much happening at the moment when God tells them to sacrifice the lamb, and he says, listen, I need you to get rid of all the leavened bread in your house. Well, what the heck is leavened bread? We don't talk like that. Like, what are you talking about? We're talking about your pizza, your cookies, your biscuits that rise, anything that has dough that rises, anything you need to make that dough rises, like a cake, a cupcake, a cookie, a pie, any of those things, that has leaven in it, and you can't, well, let me get this part first. He says, I need you to leave in such a hurry that you don't have time for your dough to rise. So that's where it came from, that during the ceremony of remembrance of this Passover night that he wants us to always remember, you had to leave in such a haste that you didn't have time for the bread to rise. So therefore, he initiated that for 7 days you will not eat bread that has leaven in it. Okay, so that's why they always serve you the cracker at communion, and it's not a biscuit. Okay, anyway, long story short. So they have to leave in a haste, and so everything on this cedar, potato, on this thing represents something during their slavery days while they were in Egypt held captive. Okay? All right, so that's where we're going with this. So, let me put on my glasses. Let's see, I have time to read a little bit. Okay. And Exodus is it's such a wonderful story, and it's kind of like watching I was telling Lindsay earlier today, it's kind of like watching a soap opera, and someone says, so I haven't watched Young and Restless in like a year. What's going on? You're like, oh, I mean, so much has happened. Like, I don't even know where to begin, you know. And it's trying to know how far back should I even read to you, because I could literally read the entire chapter of Exodus. It's that exciting. There's so much going on. It's action-packed. You know, I got hair in my eye. It could be on Netflix right now. Like, it's just, it's so awesome. So I don't even know if I'm going to read you too much or too little. I would encourage you to go and read chapter 11 through 13. So let me pick, I'm just going to randomly pick a spot. All right, so he said, where should I start? Oh, it's so good. Okay, if a household, okay, so on the 10th day of the month, you must take a lamb from each household and one lamb per house. If the house is too small for a lamb, maybe there's a single lady living there, it should be shared with a neighbor nearby. You should divide the lamb in portion to the number of people who will be eating. Your lamb should be flawless, and you may take it from a sheep or a goat. You may keep it close to watch. So what was hard was they had, every time, remember when I showed y'all the map and they would travel from up north to Jerusalem for the 3 festivals every single year? Remember that? How much traveling that was? It was hard because they had to go ahead and they would go to the temple if you didn't already have a goat. And they kind of like, we don't, what's an example? When we show up to a festival, I don't know what example was. Okay, so they would show up and would have to buy a goat that they would then sacrifice. So sometimes you had vendors there selling goats because you didn't have one to bring to Jerusalem for the festival, right? So they'd have vendors outside selling t-shirts, bracelets, memorable stuff, t-shirts with logos on it, what would Jesus do, all that kind of stuff. And then they had booths with lambs in there so they could sell those to you. Well, then you would take that lamb home for a couple days leading up to the festival, and you had to look at that lamb, you had to feed that lamb, you had to rub that lamb. It's kind of like getting a new dog, and then all of a sudden knowing the day is coming that you're going to have to sacrifice that lamb. That's hard for a child. You like bring the dog home, you're like, the baby, in a couple days, we're going to have to, So I can't imagine what that was like. But where was I even going with that story? So he was telling them you need to go get a lamb, enough for everyone to eat in that same household. You should watch over it. Then you should take the blood and smear it on the 2 doorposts and the beam. So they had like plaster walls. And right here and up, there would be a thick piece of wood, kind of like if you have one of those dens that has those big tall ceilings, you have those beams running across. They would have a big board right here, a big board that went over the door, and then another one that would come down here. And he was telling them to take that lamb's blood and smear it on that wood. And that's how he would know that you had faith and that you were his people, that you were announcing, yes, Lord, I'm with you. I believe in you, right? I don't believe in Baal and all those other earthly things that people were trickery into. There is no God, there's really Baal, or whatever they were honoring. He says to roast it over a fire with it's kind of gross, with its legs and its internal organs, whatever. Okay. It will remain until morning. It is the Passover of the Lord. I will pass through the land of Egypt at night. I will strike down every oldest child in the land of Egypt, both humans and animals. All right? It will observe the festival to the Lord. You will observe it in every generation as a regulation for time for all. So this is what, you see a lot of Jewish people doing this exact thing. Starts tonight or start tomorrow, and this leads up for 7 days that they will, that the Lord told them in the Old Testament, this is what I want you to do. So sometimes we take communion, but this is what the Jewish people do. It's full extent, but it's enough to serve as the whole dinner. All right, so I just gave you samples of dinner. Okay, so now let's start with the Seder dinner. All right, so the first thing that happens in a Seder dinner is we have to light the candles. All right, and there are 2 candles. Sometimes people would add additional candles based on how many children they have. All right, try to find a way to keep this look good. All right, so I'm going to light these 2 candles. This is the start of our Seder dinner. Oh, I should have looked at these candles. I got them out of a cabinet that I have never burned them before, so hold on. We may end up just pretending they're lit.
That goes one.
Yep, there goes one. Here we go, the wick stuff. Okay. There we go. All right, we got step 1 done. Is this a trick? This is a trick. Trick candle. Have you ever had the birthday candles where you blow them out and then they come right back? Yeah. Can we just pretend that they're lit? Okay. We all have imaginations. Yeah. In my world, it's faux painting, so it's pretend that it's something that's not. So pretend that it's lit. Okay, thank you. Okay. And when they light the candles, they have a blessing for almost every stage of this, all right? So it says, and they would recite it together. And I was going to put it up on the screen so you can recite it with me, but let's go. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and command us to kindle the light. All right, so that's that one. So the next thing we're going to do is if you will pour, now listen to me real carefully, because people will get real excited about this grape wine I put on your grape wine. Okay, this is all the wine we have, okay? And you're going to have to fill up your cup 4 times during this meal. And you've got the number of people at your table that you have. So pour a little bit wisely because I have no more to give you, okay? Oh, actually I have 4 more pictures. I lied. I have 4 more pictures. But just remember 4 times you'll have to fill this up. So you may not be able to get a whole cup. It may be like a shot glass, okay? I mean, whatever that is. I don't know. Okay. Okay. All right, so pour a little bit in your cup. That's not good. That's that. Y'all are making me thirsty. Pour that. I think I could guzzle it. I should have got some water. All right. All right, everybody got their stuff almost poured? I'm going to keep reading. All right. Okay, this step is referred to as the Kadash, all right, which means the first cup. Kadash means to consecrate. Let us begin by setting the evening aside as blessed and special. Pour your first cup, take a deep breath, and relax. Some people would even recline, as they take that first swig of wine. Raise your cup up, and here we go. But don't drink it yet, okay? You gotta say this first. He says, quietly, there was evening and there was morning. The 6th day, the heaven and the earth were completed. On the 7th day, God finished the work that he had done, and he ceased on the 7th day from all the work that he had done. God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it because he ceased all of the work that he had done. Now take a big sip of the wine and do so while leaning to the left, for this first cup is for you.
Can I drink the whole thing? I'll drink the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can drink that whole cup. Did you lean to the left? AJ's telling us secrets. Did you put your pinky up? All right. The second, there are 14 stages. All right, so we got to go kind of fast. All right, the next stage is called orchos. Orchos means to wash. In this case, it means to wash your hands. Take a moment to think about the special meal you are about to enjoy and the people that you're fortunate to celebrate it with. All right, and you are to take one wipe. Don't take them all because we got to have another session of hand washing. This is the hand washing moment. These are sanitary wipes. If you will wash your hands. If your table had a large number of people, we may not have enough wipes, and we'll get those to you. Tristan said, what? Do y'all remember those wipes that KFC those things. They were so tiny. I was like, you couldn't do much with it. Okay. Our third step of this Seder dinner is called parkis. For now we take of the fruit of the earth. Parsley is provided on your plate, it's wrapped up. There's celery and parsley. Now listen to the instructions before you do anything. So what will happen is we will dip the parsley into the salted water. The salted water is the thing in the middle of your tray. You can take the lid off. The thing in the center of the tray is salt water. And if you'll find the parsley that's wrapped up in paper towels, not the celery, but the parsley. And everybody gets one sprig of parsley. One sprig. If you don't have enough, we'll have to look to a table that has less people because they have the rest of your parsley. Okay? And that is your plate in front of you if you need it. Okay? We're kind of running out of time. Okay. Some say that the salt water symbolizes the tears as they were being slaves in Egypt. All right? You can imagine being out there. It's hot, you're tired, you want to go home, you want to watch TV, you want to do a little Amazon shopping, and you can't because you're stuck outside being slaves, right? You're building everything that Pharaoh tells you, and you can't decide when you want to take a nap. All right? You can't decide when it's time for you to pee because he's going to tell you when it's time to pee. All right? So you will dip the parsley into the salt water, and you will take a bite of the parsley. And that represents the tears that they endured. And it's not supposed to be a Martha Stewart dinner, y'all, okay? This is not in your national cookbook, all right? And then some say that it's the memory of Joseph's colorful jacket before his brother sold him into slavery. That it's being represented as the coat being dipped in blood. And as you take a bite of this, we are to repeat, "Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who created the fruit of the earth." Who creates the fruit of the earth. All right. Number 4 is the Yahatz stage. In the middle of the okay, so you have matzah, which is the crackers, all right? And you're to pretend that my Vanity Fair napkin is a linen, okay? Because the matzah was supposed to be between 2 pieces of linen. If you want to set that down off the top of your tray, that's fine. You will take, this is the part that you will take the center piece and you will break it. And what typically would happen is the smaller, when you break it, sometimes it doesn't break even, and the smaller of the piece would then be wrapped up, we won't do this part, will be wrapped up and then hidden for the children to go find later. And then they would find it in exchange for candy or dessert, all right? That was their treat for finding. It was part of, they involved the children because they wanted the children to ask questions about why are we doing a Passover dinner. So it was a very teachable moment for a family. And so to make the children entertained, they would take just the center slice, break it, and the smallest piece they would wrap up, and then the adults would go hide it in the home, and then at a particular moment, it would be time for the children to go find it. So that was just kind of cool, all right? So that's what that stage is. You can put it back in the middle because you might need it to eat later. All right. The next step is the Maggid, all right? And the Maggid is about the entire Passover story, which I just told you from Exodus of chapter 11, 12, and 13, all right? So you kind of are briefed on all of that. All right, so then we're going to turn to number 6. All right, the second cup, right? Now if you've had that salty tears, you're going to pour another cup. Remember, don't pour it all. Pour another cup. And we're going to recite this. If y'all can just, I'll try to recite it like a pastor does in church so you can repeat it. Blessed are you,
Blessed are you,
our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit from the vine. Now you may drink that. Oh, toast. Dylan said toast. All right, and step 6, guess what they thought it was time to do again? Another hand washing. But while you're washing your hand with the second wipe, we repeat this prayer. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us, his commandments, and given us the commandment of hand washing. Okay? Number 7 is the matzah. That's the cracker. Now, so this is what it says. Remember that small piece of matzah, the one you didn't use. You kindly take it, place it between 2 whole matzahs, hold them up, and recite the following blessing. The problem is, because of budget, we can't all eat that whole thing. So at a real Seder dinner, everyone would have gotten their separate matzahs with their linens. Okay. So we'll go ahead to number 8. Okay, just know that that's how that would ring. All right. The next thing is maror. That is our horseradish and celery. And I know you love some horseradish. So if you'll find the cup with the white, looks like white mayonnaise. And if you don't like horseradish, I do not. I would just eat the celery part. But this is what we're going to do. It says time for some bitterness, but not too much, because the Jews teach us that even life's toughest moments are never all dark. You will take some of the celery and you will dip it into the horseradish. Don't get a lot. Please don't get a lot. Get the tiniest little freckle. You will hate it. And the maror represents the brick and mortar that they would make all of the Egyptian castles with. Enjoy. Did you enjoy it? Oh, you hadn't done it yet? Okay. For anyone that eats cocktail sauce, the horseradish is in your cocktail sauce. But nobody eats a jar of horseradish. All right, moving on, because you're probably about to puke. Okay. The next thing is called Purim. And what you're going to do is you're going to take you will share some of the matzah cracker, and you will dip it into the apple. Now listen, the apple dip on your thing, if you have a nut allergy, please do not open the thing. It has crushed walnuts in it. Does everybody hear that? If you have a nut allergy, do not eat the apple raisin mix that has walnuts in it. You will take some of the matzah cracker and you will eat the apple thing as a dip. So take some of the matzah cracker, share it with everyone at your table.
Not me.
She just make a piece.
And use it as like a celery stick to be dipping. Use it to eat the apple stuff. Just don't eat apple stuff if you have an allergy to nuts. This is in memory of where the temple stood. Yeah, the crackers, and you'll use it to eat the apple dip. The apple has, just so if anybody's wondering, it has cinnamon, honey, lemon, apple, and raisin. You like it? If you want the recipe, you can have it. Do you like it? Okay. All right. The next part is called Shulchan Aruch. And Shulchan Aruch, and this is the main meal. You may now take a piece of the chicken and eat it. You can't have any more things to drink yet. We haven't gotten to the third cup yet, so hold out. It's coming. You may now eat the chicken. All right, are y'all good if I just keep going while you're eating the chicken? Because we only have 10 minutes left. Okay. The next thing is called an aphokamen, and that is when the children start looking. They get it from the table and they start looking for the matzah that the adults hid for them. That is Parker's chicken. It ought to be delicious. And I have more chicken at the end of class if y'all want more of that. All right, but we ain't gonna get up in the middle of class to all that. All right, so the children would go search for the matzah, and then they would have what's called a sufan auction, where they would retrieve their candy for the piece that they found. And that brings us to number 12 out of 14, and that is the third cup of wine. I know you're excited. So traditionally, this is where we say a blessing to thank God for the meal that we just enjoyed. There's also an additional approach. Have everyone around the table speak from the heart and bless the person sitting next to them, and pour the wine and drink.
Spencer, I bless you with friends. I bless you with new adventures to see God's creation. And I bless you with workers who help you with all of the things that you need help with.
We will recite this blessing out loud, and then you will also eat of the egg, and the egg represents new birth that God had given them by taking them out of slavery into the promised land, and that's what that represents. But here is the blessing that we will have for that. Y'all ready? Let my mouth declare God's praise. Let all flesh bless His holy name forever. We will bless God forever and ever. Hallelujah. All right, enjoy the egg and that third cup of wine. This is the third cup. Did you let him smell it? This is just the third cup. I have 4 more things up here. Hopefully we can make this work. Okay, now we're ready, almost for the fourth cup. We got to explain Elijah. Let's see, where is Elijah? All right, so some traditions would say that you would reserve a cup and never drink it. That was for Elijah. They would also have children get up and open the door for a few minutes to signify that we are waiting for Elijah to come back. That Elijah was just as important as Moses. He was a Hebrew prophet who ranked with Moses in saving the religion of Yahweh from being corrupted by the natural worship of Baal. Remember, I was telling you that we had those Christians who believed in God. Then we had those, like, that little group over there that worships, like, some golden statue. And then we had some people who thought that the sun was the god and all this stuff. And then they also had something that they called Baal, B-A-A-L, but it sounds like a bale of hay, B-A-I-L, but it's B-A-A-L. And they would worship these other things. And so Elijah, like Moses, like some of the other important prophets, would go around trying to set them straight. That is not a God. This is God. And so Elijah was very important because he went in and he slayed some of the people that were worshiping the Baal. And he had troubles just like we have troubles. We go in and out of like, well, where is God now? I mean, you know, he was here, but now he's left me because now I've been, you know, I got this germ now, or I've been diagnosed with something now. So now where is he? All of a sudden you start doubting that he's there. And so just like any good leader, even if you think the person has got their life together and you kind of, not necessarily, worship is a strong word, but if you idolize them and you just wish that you were them, they just look like they got it together, they look like they're financially set, everything in their world is right and all that kind of stuff, you don't know the whole story. They could be suffering with a lot, but they put on a good show. All right? And so from time to time, it's natural to doubt, well, where is he now? And you could have been a Christian the whole time, believing him, praising him, spreading the gospel, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden something happens in your life and somebody dies or something like that, and you're like, wait a minute, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. Lord, are you there? Did you forget about me? Am I the lost sheep? And so Elijah was just another example of us that would go in and out of believing that he was there for us and he was going to sit with us. But he was, but you can study him. He's in 1st and 2nd Kings to discover that all leaders have doubts. Okay. All right. So the next thing is our 4th cup of wine. And we're almost finished. Okay. Pour yourself the 4th cup of wine and say this as you recline to the left. All right. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. All right, and so the final thing is called Nurza, and it is definitely just says, this is it. We've reached the end. And then what they would usually do is they would send off the final stage with some songs and things like that they would do. They had their own songs, like we have our own hymnal songs. They would have their ritual songs that they would do. So you may enjoy. Have we touched everything on the plate? I hope so. Okay. All right, so that is the Seder dinner. Wasn't that kind of cool? Yeah. Like, I had never been a part of that. And it's really cool when you got your own servant. My biggest fan. Yes, we got to do that. Okay, I got 3 minutes. So I want to do announcements next. There is one that we need to add. All right, don't forget this Saturday,